Welcome to my audition diaries video, I guess you could call it, where I take you month by month through my audition experiences, lessons learned, reflections, thoughts, statistics, what kind of auditions I'm going to, all of that. Because I feel like otherwise, as actors, we only ever really know our process and our statistics about what kind of audition rooms we're in and how the industry feels like to us month by month, but it's harder to know how other actors are experiencing the industry. So I thought it's interesting to just reflect on it, and also because sometimes you can sort of get in your own head about what's going on with auditions, but really each audition is a learning opportunity, and that's what I think making this video helps me to be able to do, in reflecting about being in the audition room, and also as a whole, what kind of audition rooms am I in. And I think sometimes you can forget to look as a whole and think, what kind of audition rooms am I in, and how can I get myself into more of the kind of audition rooms that I want to be in. So I think it's just positivity, nice to reflect and nice to be able to connect with the kind of honest experience of what it can be like just as an actor, auditioning for lots of different jobs and opportunities and seeing what happens. So please subscribe and follow along with my journey, or even just don't follow along with my journey but just subscribe, because the support is very helpful and having more numbers on this is very helpful to me. So if you could subscribe, then please do. So the rest of this video will feature my end of the month reflections for April, May and June. So if there is a specific month that you're drawn to and wanting to know my experiences of, then I will leave this video in sort of chapters time-stamped below. So if you want to skip to a specific month and hear my experiences of that, then you can do. And if you want to share your experiences as well about auditioning in the comments, then that would be really interesting, because I think we have such different experiences in the industry, and I'm not trying to get everyone to pit themselves against each other and all compete, but I just think it's interesting and reassuring to know that other people are experiencing the same thing. And also, even if they're not, we're all different actors and we're all different casting types and we all fit different roles, so we can't really compare ourselves against each other because we're going for completely different things in the industry. So with that all said, here are my monthly reflections. So April was a much quieter month for auditions than March, which kind of was beneficial in giving me time to reflect on my audition technique and to think about the direction that I want to go in and how I can get myself in the audition rooms that I want to be in and all of that, and just really refine my self-tape technique rather than actually just submitting loads of self-tapes. Taking that time to reflect, I think, is also important to do. So I sent off one acting self-tape, one presenting self-tape as well, because I think I speak to a camera all the time, so I might as well make the most of it. Like, I've done a few different things speaking to camera for other things, and it's just a useful other skill to try and work on. And also I did an in-person audition on the 1st of April, and I actually also did an in-person audition in a completely other part of the country on the 31st of March, and I've not heard back from the March one, but I've got a recall for the one in April. And I just think it was so nice in a way to have so many opportunities to be in the room close together, because I think it really just freed me up to just play in the space and explore and not be too in my own head about it. I feel like in those auditions I just had a really fun time, and I just pushed myself, and I just proved that with the kind of audition it was in March, I proved that I wouldn't be shy about certain elements of it. I rapped in the audition. I rapped like Andy Murray, because Andy Murray did a charity rap about 10 years ago, and they wanted a rap, and they wanted just someone who would just have fun with it and not stress about the idea of rap more than actual rap skills. So I just thought I love doing a Scottish accent, so I just impersonate Andy Murray, which I hope actually is not offensive, but everyone loves Andy Murray, you know what I mean? So I did that, and then I got recalled from the next day, and I feel like I just love being in the room to do an audition. I don't really get to nervous anymore about being in the room. I feel like I just really love in-person auditions, because if it's a group audition, you get the chance to like maybe even see people who you've met before or meet new people, and sometimes you can hang out with them after the audition, get to know them, get to know like other people who do similar things to you. So that's really fun to get to meet other really creative, really interesting people with interesting experiences, and also just like getting to meet a panel, even if there's not a group there, is just really nice. It's really nice because I like self-tapes as well, and it saves a lot of money, but getting to meet people in the industry is also very cool. So overall, like, April was good, but also, obviously, being honest, when you have less auditions, you realise how much more in your head you have the potential to get, so you've got to be wary of that, because otherwise, when it's quieter, you might start to overthink things a bit more. So I was just trying to keep that under control. So in May, I had 4 different self-tapes and 2 in-person auditions, and actually I was offered another in-person first round, but it was very far away. It was a place where I wouldn't have anyone I know who I could stay with if I got the work, and it would be difficult maybe. I think it's quite an expensive location to stay in, so I feel like it would be potentially difficult to break even or make a profit, although I'm not really sure. It just seemed quite challenging, and it would be expensive within itself to go to a first round where I think they were seeing a lot of people. So, and it was very close to my other 2 auditions. I feel like travelling that far would have meant that I wouldn't have done as well in my other auditions that were both recalls, so I thought I needed to prioritise those. So like, I'm getting more and more recalls, but the recall experience and how I feel about that is different to how maybe I thought I would have felt about this kind of stage, which I think it's important to be honest about, because I feel like first rounds, or the opportunity to be in the audition room or tape for something, I'm just grateful to be seen for stuff, and I think it's a great opportunity to get known by these people. But I feel like the mindset thing is what I'm working on more with the recalls, because I feel like sometimes I can get more in my head about that and think about it a bit more, because obviously that's natural because you're in the process a lot more, you're doing a lot more rounds for it, so you'll think about it more. But I feel like I know I'm not alone in this, but I think I put so much pressure on myself knowing that the fact that I'm getting recalled means that there's a possibility that I could genuinely do the opportunity. And then I feel like I put so much more pressure on myself, and I'm so self-critical of myself, and I find it more difficult to just put it behind me once I've done the recall, because I feel like I've really earned my space in that like next round, but then I feel like I don't want to let myself down after I've put in all of that work before that. So I feel like I'm so harsh on myself, and I need to just stop, because if you take a step back, like, it's good to be in this next round. It shows that I'm getting better and that I have the potential to get further in the process and get opportunities. So I need to stop being so harsh on myself, because it is good. And I overthink, I think, a lot more, in a way that I'm just able to disconnect and switch off from first rounds. So I need to focus on my mindset for that. But I think sometimes it's just normal that, like, it is harder to deal with rejection when you've been through lots of different rounds, but it's still all manageable. And also, I am no longer a member of the casting website Mandy. That membership stopped. Like, I had a year subscription and that stopped this month, but I feel like that's also been fine, because I feel like actually I'm getting loads more auditions outside of that website than I was when I first joined. So I'm still getting seen loads. Like, there's loads of audition opportunities that I'm finding myself in. So I'm very blessed and very lucky. So I think that June has been a big month of learning for me, audition-wise, but also there is so much to be grateful for, because I'm aware that I've been lucky to have auditions, whereas some people have had it quite quiet, because I have been in the in-person audition room 4 times, and I also had 1 self-tape, which is a weird kind of ratio, because usually I'd have more self-tapes and less in-person auditions. But I've just been so grateful to be in the room, and I've been in the room for a variety of different things, like classical plays, I've sang in auditions, I've been in auditions for new writing, for film, theatre. One of these in-person auditions was a recall as well, and I just feel like I've become more confident with a lot of different elements of in-person auditions, and like it's all good practice. And also I feel like I've been finding in my personal life more of the like fun element of singing, so I feel like I'm just trying to have fun and enjoy singing in auditions, because then that will come across a lot better and I'll be a lot more relaxed, and also it will sound better. So I feel like I'm reaching new levels with that, because I feel like I'm feeling a lot more comfortable singing in auditions than I did before. And also, like, if I look back over like a few years ago, I was not getting in the audition room nearly as much as I am now. So I'm very, very blessed. I feel like a proper actor, like I'm in the audition room all the time. However, also I do want to be honest about my experience and say that, like, with the one tape that I had, I was in a headspace, without going into it, it's not overly like deep, but I was just upset about something. And like, before filming it, the day before I needed to film it, I hadn't slept. Like, I lay awake at night because I was just like worried about something, and then I had spent a lot of the day crying. And I feel like I don't usually have those days, but like we all have bad days where something's upsetting us, and I was really quite upset. And I feel like there's a line with this, because sometimes you might be like, I'm not going to be able to send off my best work, so maybe I should give this a pass. But I thought, I can put this in a box and say, we'll come back to my emotions later, but I can focus on this and then go back to my normal life. And I think we talk a lot about entering a character's emotions, but we don't often talk as much about exiting our own in a safe way. But I'm really proud of myself, because I actually got a recall for that tape, and I was able to do that tape. And I actually did 2 different versions of a scene as well, because I thought, let's have some fun with it. Because sometimes, like, I might imagine if the scene was like this and I was making some really bold choices, and usually I don't ever send 2 different versions of one scene, but I thought actually there's a lot of interesting offers that they might be interested in or they might not be interested in, so I might as well send 2 different versions. So I did that for one of the scenes. I thought it's really important to be honest about that and talk about that, because in acting we are exiting our own emotions and entering the emotions of another character, and that is a lot to take on, depending on like if you're doing intense scenes as a character, but also if you're experiencing quite intense emotions in your actual life. And you may book jobs where you have something going on in your personal life, and you have to be able to exit that and be able to enter a character's mind and be able to do that. So I'm really proud of myself for being able to do that, and I feel like that's a really good, useful skill moving forward. But also, I'm not saying that like you should always go to the audition and do the tape, because obviously I've been in situations as well, being honest, where like I've had a bereavement that I've heard about like very shortly before an audition, and in those situations is a point where you have to be like, we need to make other arrangements for this audition, because it's not mentally safe for you to go into an audition when you've had such life-changing news. So I think it's really important that sometimes you don't always put the acting first, and that's something that was really hard, but I really realised that like sometimes you have to put your head first and people will make other arrangements. But then in this scenario that I was in this month, actually I could still go ahead and do that. So it's about finding the balance. So I'm proud of myself for being able to go through that and stay professional throughout all of this and be able to put my emotions aside, because I think in acting sometimes you just have to like leave stuff out of the rehearsal room and be present, and then you can take all of that stuff back afterwards. But just imagine like your thoughts passing through, don't dwell on them, and just be able to focus on the work. So that's a summary of my June auditions. I'm very, very grateful to have been in the room so much, but actually looking forward, I don't have any upcoming auditions, so we'll see what happens, because auditions can always pop up at the last minute. So subscribe and stay tuned and see where my next auditions take me, like what happens next, what happens with these auditions, outcomes and all of that. If you have any experiences or thoughts you'd like to share from the past few months and audition wise, or anything I've talked about, then please do leave them in the comments. I love to chat with people in the comments, so feel free to do that. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!